We move on now to Indy NXT at Mid-Ohio. And again, not too much of a surprise who pulled into victory lane. It was Dennis Hauger and his championship rivals, Kyle Collette and Lucky Hughes, ended up rounding off the podium there. But the big story was a very frightening accident between Sebastian Murray and Ricardo Escotto. Fortunately, both drivers and all the marshals and cameramen in the area were okay. But a simply horrifying crash. Matthew, I don't know if you got a chance to saw it. I was actually watching it live when it happened on FS1. They actually had to red flag the race, and then they brought the IndyCar series out for their morning warm-ups, and then the race finished later in the morning, into the early afternoon on FS2. And, of course, Hauger ended up taking the win. But do you have any thoughts on the incident between Murray and Escotto, and who was at fault there, if anybody?
My first initial thought was, damn, like that was very frightening and scary, because I wasn't watching it live, but I went back, watched the replay, and I've never seen, I hate the idea of this, but a lot of the lower tier motorsports series, lower tier as in not the top level, right? So you say Xfinity, Truck Arca, then you say Indy NXT. I hate when their videos I like when they get millions of views, but you hate that it's under that circumstance, right? And automatically, like I was looking through, and whether it was X, Instagram Reels, all that TikTok, it was already in the millions of this accident. A lot of it, in my opinion, I watched it a couple times, maybe not as much as you, but I think it was more of a racing deal. However, I will like to say, I think Murray had a racing line, but I felt like Escotto was kind of side drafting, and then I think Murray kind of came off that line, and then when you were in open wheel cars and you go like this, you go like that. So that's what happened inevitably. Yeah. And it sucks for both of them. You never want to see that, because within 2 seconds your life can change. But thankfully that everyone involved was safe, and I'm so happy that they build these cars a lot safer than they used to be, because if this was pre-internet times, even 10, 15 years ago, we could be having a whole different conversation. It'd be in a more somber mood about it. So I think, in my opinion, it was more of a racing deal, but it seemed like kind of Murray came off his line a little bit, and Escotto was doing a little bit too close of side drafting, because I think if he kept the outside line, I know the Gran Turismo movie, which I don't think you've seen yet, the reference is the racing line in video games. So I think if he took the unorthodox racing line, Escotto did, I think they wouldn't have wrecked. But it happens. They're both okay. That's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, pre-Halo, for sure. We could be having a different conversation once again. But, yeah, so I've seen people, I think the spectrum right now is kind of racing incident to 100% on Escotto. I think Jack Harvey took the more diplomatic response when he was in the booth and said he thought it was a racing incident. I know my fellow staff writer at LastCar.info, William Soki, was very critical of Escotto and said, it's time to maybe have a serious conversation about him, because even Kevin Lee was saying last year the stewards were getting very familiarized with his driving style. And I tend to agree with Will in the sense that I felt like, maybe you could make the argument Murray came up a little bit, but I think Escotto certainly had much more room to his outside of a slight right-hander, and to be getting that close that early in the race on a straightaway in open wheel cars, I think was just a bit of an unnecessary risk. And also you have to take into account Murray was following the racing line of the cars in front of him, and he was the car in front of the battle between him and Escotto as Escotto was approaching. So Escotto certainly had a better view of where both cars were relative to each other on the straightaway. So I would tend to lean Escotto being primarily at fault there, but of course still very thankful regardless that he is okay, as well as Murray there. You see them down there, obviously retired from the race in 18th and 19th. So unfortunate that their days came to such an early end. But like I said, the most important thing in an incident like that is that both drivers were able to walk away relatively unscathed, certainly shaken by the experience of frightening crash, but no harm, no foul there in terms of serious injuries at the very least. So hopefully both of them are able to bounce back from that as the season continues on here.